sometimes I'm just sitting here, plenty of time, and all of a sudden the time pops up on me and it's like, oh, it is 7 p.m. So it is day 4. And I sometimes really can't believe it's been 3 days already and we're on day 4. And like I said, this is going to be, well, it's always one of the most liked because I typically do 4 days on money, if you can believe it, but there's so much to cover. And so I just pick the very beginning part of understanding. And then I learned a new skill today. I learned that I can actually have a whole presentation with me in the corner. So remember I said when we were talking about fear yesterday that we have to go through these walls of doing things that are really uncomfortable. This is now the 9th day for me that I've utilized this, let's just call it software. And I just get excited when I found out, well, I still can't see you. It is, I think it's just beneficial for individuals to see a real person. So look at what you've done. On Monday, we started out and you set a goal that you thought you weren't supposed to want. And then you discovered that there's a paradigm running your life on autopilot. And last night, we walked through what fear looks like. And you're still standing. You're still standing. So understanding that terror barrier and what it really is, it's making the decision because every great result requires us to go through, and I'm always going to say this, uncomfortable actions. Let's just say actions. And so today, that's why we're going to go through where most people don't want to go through. We're going to talk about money. Not going to talk about strategies. I always find it interesting when I started and I left the financial service profession and people found out lots of letters after my name. I just like taking tests and learning things. And because I tend to like to talk to people who are in business or want to figure out how to go from corporate to be their own business or want to figure out how to have more than enough money so they don't ever have to worry. And they saw all those letters after, well, I don't even have it after my name. And they wanted to know if I was going to be their financial planner. And it's like, no. So today it's not about strategies. It's not about budgets. It is not about investing tips. And we are going to talk about that invisible ceiling. That invisible ceiling sits on top of your income. It's actually like a bubble. Your wealth in your entire financial life is under that influence, and most people don't even recognize and realize it. So at the end of tonight, you're going to be able to name some of the things that are going on and an idea of how to start changing it. So let's see if I can do some magic and figure out. Now, I'm going to switch it. There's a button I have to push, and last night, the software, because you don't know this, I'm on one side talking to you, and on the left side is the presentation getting ready to come over, and you hit a button. But if that doesn't work, then I have to make it go from 2 down to 1, and so we're just going to see. So we're just going to see what happens with this. Oh, it will let me. So it lets me pull up the presentation so I get to move through it and see the different things as you're seeing them. So this is when I wish I had like two different screens, but we'll learn to go and do what we're meant to do. So, money. I told you we're going to get really comfortable with understanding what is going on when we either say, my income is stuck, I've never been able to make more than X, and you will do this work after. Because I always feel, you know what it was like when you got let out of school? Oh, when you got let out of school early and you could go do whatever you wanted to do. That's what I kind of feel like this. I have an idea, and hopefully I don't just like tell way too many stories, but I have an idea about how long this is going to take to walk through. And you'll have the replay, so if there's anything you need to listen or look at, because you really just have a couple pages in your workbook, and it's really about drawing some of the pictures that I referenced and that we're going to walk through. And we're going to start with what was Bob's favorite question when he was alive, which is, what's the most you've ever earned in a single year? And he didn't care what the number was, and I don't care what the number is. It's, how do you feel when I ask that? And then it's notice what comes up for you. I'm just going to say fill in the blank. I don't want to speak words. I was listening to Florence Scovel Shinn is an author from the 1900s, and she has a book called Your Word is Your Wand. When I have said we become what we think about all day long, it's also those thoughts are words that are spoken out of the mouth. And so I have become very aware that even when I'm talking about a subject that could be as uncomfortable about money, I don't want to fill in the words in your mouth about what money was when you were growing up. And that's a really great sentence. And this came from David Bayer. When I was growing up, money was. And he said, I think the percent was 70% or more. The word is scarcity. So there are some things I will repeat. That's our money paradigm talking. And so that question about what's the most that you've ever earned in a single year, I'll go to this. We're either winning or learning. We're winning or learning. And so whatever word comes up for you, it just is. And what I want you to understand is that I want you to get really comfortable talking about money. See, money is just an effect. Oftentimes people chase money. They're chasing money directly. They work hard. That was me in the beginning. I was taught, get out of school, work hard, go in, work extra on the weekends, work longer hours. I did all of that. Do more, take on more, add something else. Because we're efforting. Because that's what our paradigm believes, depending on what we heard and saw around us. But see, money is not a cause. It is the effect. And it's how our paradigm, our subconscious conditioning feels about money determines how much we allow now hear this, determines how much we allow ourselves to earn, keep, and enjoy. Let that land. Our subconscious conditioning, how it feels about money, determines how much we allow ourselves to earn, keep, and enjoy. See, your paradigm is that thermostat. It's that setting. And it will always reset back to where we left our paradigm. And it's why when people win the lottery, they don't often keep it. You know, I was reading that statistic. It's a word I don't like to say. One of my very first roles coming out of college, I worked in a bank. And I had lottery winners as clients. And that statement about most people who win the lottery often lose it is true. Because their paradigm doesn't know what to do with all that extra money. These individuals ran out of their money months before they were getting their next payment. And we're talking multi-millions. This is not like just $100,000. But it's because their paradigm. And they haven't worked on being the type of person that wins multi-millions and who they are and what they do. And if you recall, I talked about identity. But it's also why some people who are earning $75,000, $100,000 every year for 30 years, and there's other people who are at 10 times that. Their thermostat is set differently. Your past has no impact on what you or I am capable of doing going forward, but our paradigm has all the impact. And it's running on autopilot right now, and it's dictating how much we think we can earn. So, you know, Earl said, we become what we think about. And that single sentence is the foundation of all money mastery. If we are thinking of, I'll use some words, scarcity, lack, I don't have enough, I'm going to produce not enoughness. And it's not because I'm not lucky. It's because I am negative goal setting. I'm worried and doubtful, and I'm repeating, when I was growing up, money was scarce. That's my negative goal setting. And money doesn't show up by chance. It is a direct effect of the value that I create and the consciousness that I operate on. When you understand this, earning money becomes predictable. Now, how's that for a setup? When you understand this, earning money becomes predictable. So, I like this slide because I use this with salespeople. And what it's really showing is that cybernetic mechanism. And we start out, when I said that willpower isn't enough, we start out efforting our way. And every once in a while, our income will bump up, especially if we're in sales. But then what typically happens, now this line I drew flat, but sometimes it'll dip below and come back up. So our average of what our paradigm believes we are worthy of earning comes out the same every single year. It's why I asked you last night, when you prepare for the conversation for today, to just review what your last 5 years of income has been. That is going to tell you what you believe about earning money. My income goes up by X% a year. My income goes up and down. If I'm in sales, I might say things like, I don't have the same performance month after month, and the balance sheet is never enough. But it's to understand your self-image is that thermostat, and your conscious mind wants more. This is where we talk about conscious, subconscious. And you can write all the goals in the world, and you can read the books, and you can take the courses. But if we don't understand that our behavior, our actions, and our results are always going to come back to the image that we hold of ourselves that our subconscious accepts as true. And so tonight, we're going to take that same mechanism, your cybernetic mechanism, and we're going to apply it to money. So last night when we talked about the terror barrier, it's like the X-type conditioning. So this is like the X-type money conditioning. You have thoughts, you're in a money vibration. Your money vibration is your money behavior. Your money behavior is the type of money results that you get. And people who earn $100,000 a year are not thinking the same thoughts, and I'm going to say this, and are not being the same person who earns $500,000 a year. They are not even dreaming about it because they don't believe it's true. And it's not that they're not smart enough and that they don't work hard enough. It's because their paradigm won't let them. So let's start attacking that paradigm. Now, it's funny. I had this slide, and then AI tried to recreate it, and I go, you're just messing this all up. But what I want you to understand is that we have generational paradigms. So remember when I said between the ages of 0 and 9 that your subconscious was an open sieve and you were gathering information, heard, talked about, seen, witnessed, inferred how you felt about it. But we also are installed with the money conditioning from generations before us. Now, I'm going to walk through this a bit and help you understand. I always go, if I'm a woman, look at the maternal side. Look at your mom, look at your grandmother. If I'm a male, I'm going to look at my dad, I'm going to look at my grandfather and great-grandfather. Especially generational. Look to see if there are some characteristics from mother, grandmother, that you can start to witness this. And the attitudes that we have about money and what we think about it, what we think about wealthy people, didn't originate from us. Let's really think about it. At 5 years old, are you thinking about what wealth is and wealthy people? They're unsolicited gifts from your parents and your teachers and your upbringing and your grandparents. And we accept this uncritically. And then they're acted upon. They take control. Sometimes it's a good result depending on the family you grew up in. But often they replace and have results of unwanted, confusing, not helpful, and we have no idea why our life keeps producing them. So when I did this exercise, and I'm just going to say this because I've said this every day, you have to be honest with yourself. Don't make up things, and don't not think about things. You know, I grew up with there's never enough. I'm going to take a sip of water. All the savings had to go to the household. There was no money for trips. Our vacations were camping when my dad was looking for his campsite in Wyoming to go elk hunting. My mom had to work. She always worked. And all of their parents were immigrants. The one side of the family on my grandmother's side, on my dad's mother's side, were farmers from Finland. His dad's grandfather was a tailor from Scotland. My mom's parents were immigrants from Germany and Amsterdam. But then if I just look at what was happening at just the generation of my grandparents, I learned how to roll cigarettes when I was 5 and 6 because my grandparents couldn't afford cigarettes. And as a child, that was what I did when we went to go visit them. One set of grandparents had lost the ability to work and were on disability. And that's what I really remember. I did not see wealth. And so when I started earning real money, and even because in financial services, you can earn a wonderful income. My paradigm was this is temporary and you're never going to have enough and you're going to lose it because you're not that kind of person and it will go away. And until I sat and understood and saw that programming and was able to name it, I kept hitting the same exact ceiling no matter how hard I worked. That's why I said, do the work. Because if there's a phrase that you heard growing up, most of us, mine was money doesn't grow on trees. And we can't afford it. Now, some people hear different things while they're growing up. If you've heard something different and you're in the chat and want to drop it, feel free. But those are pretty much all of them, and you have to work hard for every dollar. Money doesn't grow on trees. Though I did try to convince my dad that we could have a horse and he could put it in the dog pen, and that's where we could keep it. So, there are 7 laws of money. I am not going to cover all 7 of them because I would go way over the 60 minutes. But when you understand the foundation that money is an effect, that your paradigm is running it, these are the 7 laws that govern how money actually flows in and out of our life. They're not opinions and they are not theories. These are universal principles and they work whether you believe them or not, just like the law of gravity. And I always like to say that because they are laws. And most people are unknowingly working against every single one of them. So I'll go through and I'm going to name all 7, but then we're going to go deeper in, I think I have 4 of them tonight, because the 4 are the ones that do the most damage in most of our lives. So the first one is the law of cause and effect. Every cause has an effect. Every effect has a cause. Money is the effect. The cause is the value that you create. So, actually, let's go through. Yep, I'm just going to walk through. Some I'll expand a little bit on, and the others I'll just summarize. And so most people have the law of cause and effect backwards. We're chasing the effect. So we're trying to get more money. And we don't know that wealthy people wake up trying to create more value. If you want to increase your income, you've got to increase the value of what you do and the service you provide. Stop chasing money. Work on becoming more valuable. Because when we stop chasing the effect and we start working on the cause, the effect becomes inevitable. And then the law of vibration. Now, this is when Bob was in the movie The Secret and they were talking about the law of attraction. He always said the law of vibration comes first because everything in the universe vibrates and nothing rests. If I held up, well, pick anything, my watch. This is moving. This is why the science part of me loves this. So you're a massive energy and you're moving at a high speed of vibration, but so is money. That's why we call it currency. Money is energy. And like all energy, it's attracted to people who are vibrating on that same frequency. Let it land. Money is attracted to people who are vibrating at the same frequency, and it's the frequency of abundance. You can't attract wealth while you're on the frequency of lack and worry and doubt and scarcity and I can't afford it. It's physics. It's not a willpower issue. You have to get on the frequency first. Law of vibration. then money follows. So how do you change your vibration? That is through what you think about, what you speak and what you say, who you surround yourself with, and what you do with your body and how you move and how you embody the person who has money. So if you want to stay every day on the frequency of wealth, you have to be deliberate about it. It's not going to happen by accident because the default frequency of the world around you is lack. So then there's a law of compensation. Let's see, because I think I have a slide on the law of compensation. Let's double check. That's the cause and effect. That's vibration. Law of compensation. The law of compensation. The amount of money you earn is always going to be in an exact ratio of the need for what you do, your ability to do it, and the difficulty there is in replacing you. This came from Earl Nightingale. And there's those 3 exact ratios. But what do you think you're responsible for? Because there's only 3 levers. Anytime you want to earn more, you have to change one of those 3. That's it. Most people try to work more hours, but hours aren't on the list. Working harder isn't on that list either. The 3 levers are bigger need, deeper ability, hard to replace. So you want to earn more? Look at number 2. Improve your skills, become a master at what you do, and make yourself irreplaceable, not by working harder, but by becoming more valuable. So it is your ability to do the work. And we are all about increasing the value that we provide to other people. Earl Nightingale, the law of receiving. This is an interesting one. This is the one that I see blocks more women in particular more than any other. Though I would say my 70-year-old male client, this is what I challenged him on because he wasn't good at receiving. We can't receive what we are not willing to accept. So we block our financial blessings, not because we're unworthy, not because we're not talented, or that we're not working hard. Because deep down, we feel guilty, we feel unworthy, or we're uncomfortable with money. Maybe we were raised in a family that needed the money, and so they feel guilty earning more than their parents. Or they believe wealthy people are bad. They feel really uncomfortable charging that much. I have heard that over and over and over again. They feel uncomfortable charging that much and they give discounts when they shouldn't. They underprice, they overdeliver, and they self-sabotage every time the number starts to climb. Same process is why lottery winners lose their money. We have to be open to receive. We can't attract money if we resent it. If we are judging other people who have money or comparing ourselves, we're not open to receive. If we believe that wealthy people are different, we can't receive abundance if we're still operating on the belief that we don't deserve it. Don't resent money. So the ones that I thought I would just lump together is the law of supply. There is an infinite supply of everything, and scarcity is a paradigm. Lack is a paradigm. And the majority of people believe that there is not enough money And that belief is the problem. There isn't shortage of money in the world. There's only a shortage of people who believe they can have it. There are not dollar bills stacked up in a vault someplace to equal all the money that's supposedly out in circulation. It's why if you go to the bank and you have a very large account and you want to draw out a couple $100,000, they do not have that sitting back in the vault. But there is no shortage of money in the world. Gratitude is the vibration that keeps you connected to the supply. Daily gratitude practice raises your energy, and then it turns what you have. So if I'm grateful for, I made $40 today, then it's going to raise my energy and turn what I have into more. Bless your bills. Rhonda Byrne said this, and it's a really interesting tactic. Every time you're paying a bill or pumping gas and, charging that, you need to see it come back to you twofold. So it's blessing it and bless your payments, because then you're blessing your income. But when we resent what we owe or the price of gas today, we're vibrating in lack. I don't even know what gas costs. I filled up my car at Costco today. But when you bless it, you're vibrating in abundance. And then the law of increase, which is really the law of praise. Whatever you praise, bless, or appreciate is going to grow. And the opposite is true. Whatever you criticize and resent is going to shrink. There's that negative goal setting again. Speak well of others' success. Don't compare. Do not judge. Celebrate wealth wherever you see it. And when you see someone driving a wonderful car, don't resent them, bless them. That's the vibration that invites the same into your life. I was searching for, and it came from Gabby Bernstein. I could not find it, but it's written down in one of my journals. But she had this great way of saying, if we see somebody who has what we want or the income that we want, it's the same thing. Bless them and thank them for showing what is possible for them is possible for you too. So don't ever ask, can I afford it? Ed Milet said this one time, wealthy people never look at price tags when they're shopping. They only ask, do I want it? Now, when he said that, because of how I grew up, I look at a price tag before I decide if I like it. That takes some doing to work through that paradigm. Still working through it sometimes. I look at a price tag and it makes me decide whether I like it or not. So, now we're going to go on to the fun part. What do you believe and what beliefs do you hold about money and success? So you have some space in your workbook, but here's really what you're going to sit and do. And it's just a number. So sometimes we'll start and we'll come in a different way, but it can really start with what number are you comfortable and believe that when you wrote your goal is possible. And then the next follow-up is, what about 2x that, 5x that, or 10x that? I'm going to push you on this because those bigger numbers are going to push you into finding what you really believe about money and success. So the middle circle, drawn on the page, it's like a sun. I moved it. I didn't find my original one, but I did find, you won't see, I'm in a little corner here. But the first time I did this exercise, I did count. There were 41 little rays all around that going around. Don't limit. Inside, money and success, and put that dollar amount, 2x it, 5x it, or 10x it. And in each and around, you're really just going to write what your beliefs are about money or success. Not all are negative. So I don't want you to filter it. I mean, you're going to have some ones that aren't negative, because I've seen other people earn X type of income. So I'm going to write that down, or something like, I love what I do. So I love adding value to what people are learning and growing and discovering. Yeah, I love that. So write a belief you hold about money or success. Just don't filter. I think we gave ourselves 5. I don't think we gave 10. You'll be amazed at how fast you can do it. But some of the things that we can think about are, what do you believe about people who have a lot of money? What do you believe about your own ability to earn money? What do you believe about how hard you have to work for it? What did you hear about money growing up? And what's the story you tell yourself about why you don't have money? So when I was training some other people, I just filled it in for them to give them some idea of what this looks like. I wish I had more money saved. That's somebody's belief. I have to work hard. No one in my family is wealthy. I have had a lot of money before, which is a really great one. I have a lot of knowledge in my industry. I'm good at what I do. I have a job I like. So I wanted to make sure that you saw it's not all going to be 41 beliefs that are stuck in my paradigm that I have to change. So that is not what the exercise is meant to do. It's not all bad, and it's not all good. And it's a tangled mix of everything you've ever absorbed, and it's producing your exact current result. That's what I really want you to understand. And so I want you to pick one. And this is the belief equation that came from David Bayer that really talks about one belief that's clearly limiting you. And just pick one. Again, if all 41 of mine were negative, that would be overwhelming in a way. Even if there was, let's say, half and half, that's still. But I want you to look at it, and it's picking the one that, based on the goal that you wrote on Monday, you know the second you see it, that it's the one keeping you stuck. And so that 3-step framework, and I've mentioned this, I'm not great at selling. Then it becomes, what evidence do I have that the new belief is true, that I'm great at sales? Because this is also in a decision framework. And the evidence can be personally. I have sold successfully before. I sold Girl Scout cookies, or goodness, I think when we were in school, we sold seeds. I don't really remember why. And then if somebody else in your industry that you personally know is knocking it out of the park, if Kim can do it, so can I. What evidence do I have that the new belief is true? This is the loop. Now, this is how we start reprogramming the paradigm. But I also want you to go back to that belief, and then on some of those, this is where you can use, there were 41 negative beliefs that I had to change. You would just write the opposite. So if I went back here and I looked at this, I have to work hard. The opposite would be, I can make work easy, fun, and effortless and earn a lot of money. No one in my family is wealthy. I could be the first millionaire in my family. I wish I had more money saved. I could be just like the billionaire who created an AI company at 60 years old. It's temporary. Everything is temporary. But it's when you look at what you wrote, this becomes your money paradigm repetition card. And so this is where you can come up with I believe statements or I could be statements that if you just took an index card and picked a number that you felt pretty good and comfortable with, that's going to be your money paradigm card. And you read it morning and night. Because what we're doing is we're attacking that paradigm that's been in charge for too many years. Too many years. So that plus this exercise is a really good one. And it's why I asked you about the comfort number. I just put in here to remind you, you all picked a number you were comfortable with because that's your paradigm as well. So triple it, write that new number down. Notice how your body feels because that's also a paradigm. And what is blocking me from feeling comfortable receiving the number every month? I said month, not year. So there are some simple habits that when adhered to in a repetitive daily model can help you go from where we started on Monday to writing those new neural pathways. And I just decided I was going to do a data dump. Don't write all of these down 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 20. It's not meant to do that. I'll point out if I was going to do this from the very beginning and somebody was looking at it, I would say have a morning and evening routine. I would choose gratitude. I'm just trying to decide what are the be optimistic. Spend 30 minutes a day thinking. And I would now put, in addition to that, after rereading Florence Scovel, I would say spend 30 minutes a day speaking what you want out loud. But that's what I said. Like these were just some, but I want you to understand it really is create a morning and evening routine. And then fill it in with what's going to change. Because we reprogram the paradigm in 3 ways. We're aware. Now you can't unsee what you've seen. You now know that 95% of your actions come from your subconscious mind. And it's running it right now. It's running it right now, even while we're having these money conversations. And so we have to replace it. And this is where we want to put that new belief in that empty space, because we have to pour cement in another groove. And when we do the work daily until that new belief becomes the default, money paradigms are the trickiest, because when you go back and understand the generational impact. There was a gentleman one time at one of Bob's seminars who was making good money. I think he was like $300,000 a year, but he had never been able to get over that amount. And he stood up and he had to ask that question to Bob. And, Bob started to ask him some questions and then said, "Where are you from?" And he said, "Well, I'm from California." He said, "No, where are you from?" Well, his parents were from, I want to say Eastern Europe someplace. He has their money paradigms. And so it's why this is such an important aspect. It's also why I don't start with it, because you have to lay the groundwork of understanding paradigms and fear to really recognize that when you actively start doing this work, your paradigm is going to fight you. You're going to find, if there were days that I had decided I was going to have a morning routine, and maybe I'm just going to start with one, a morning routine, you're going to be amazed at how fast that your paradigm can pull you off of that. But it really is, every day we get to start all over again. Every day is a new start. And so take some time. It really isn't going to take a long time. That's why I say don't filter and don't think too hard. take that circle, draw it around, write everything you can around it, pick a belief, and build evidence for a new belief, and remove one thing from your environment that signals lack. Now that's an interesting one, and replace it with a symbol of abundance. So, well, I have sitting here in the corner, I have a few things. You can't see, I'm in the corner. I'll show you when I make myself big. I have a frog, there's the corner, with the coin in his mouth, because 2 years ago when we were wanting to sell our house, this is feng shui, and this is from Marie Diamond. I had to get this frog, and I put it in the doorway of my office, and it had to be in a very specific place. And I will say this, we sold our house and bought this house and moved in 25 days. Frog, coin in mouth. I have a globe, because Marie Diamond told Bob, if you want to travel the world, you have to have a globe. So I have a crystal globe, and then I have a crystal. So little things like that. Replace it with symbols of abundance. Symbols of abundance. So I hope something landed with you tonight. Well, I know something landed tonight. And this is when I just offer the invitation. One, I love talking to people. I did not think I was going to grow up to be a storyteller like my dad, but apparently that runs in our family too. I would just say, we're going to look at where you are, look at where you want to be, and what's in between. And we're really just going to have, I like to say, a fun conversation. For some people, they feel they should have been at a goal sooner, but we're not in a race. This is not a sprint. We are in a marathon of our life. So there's a link in the portal. I think there's a little QR code in the workbook, but I'd love to have a conversation. So there's some times I think set aside for next week, and I would love to have a conversation with you. And now I have to remember to say this. Tomorrow night, I changed it to 5 p.m. Eastern. It's Friday. I love my Fridays. I hope you love your Fridays too. I know some of you are Mountain Time and Pacific Time, and I'm just going to pull everything together so you have something to really think about on the weekend. I also have an opening where we're going to hop on Zoom. So I get to see people. Thank goodness. But I open up the Zoom because sometimes there's just questions. Like I said, this conversation around money, I normally teach over 4 days, an hour a day. And so I hit the strongest areas to understand all the laws that impact money and all the different ways. Now I just want my camera on. Let's do this. I had to pick and choose. But the goal was starting on Monday and giving you the tools, because my promise was, how can I make such a bold promise that where you are now and where you're going to be by Friday should be a very different place. So tomorrow I'm just going to pull everything together. We're going to talk about the worthy goal from day 1, the paradigm from day 2, the fear from yesterday, and the money paradigm from tonight. And we're going to talk about the one mental move that is going to put all of that in action and motion. I always like to give people something to really think about, but it's going to pull it all together and help you put it into action. So you have 10 extra minutes. 10 extra minutes is all you need to draw the sun and to write all those beliefs you have about that money dollar amount that you tripled in the middle. and then come up with some wonderful beliefs. I am great at wordsmithing. So even in the Zoom call tomorrow, if that's something you want help with, because I get it. I used to think every time Bob said an affirmation, one of his was money flows to me. Now I can't remember it. I'm so happy and grateful now that money flows to me in increasing quantities from multiple sources on a continuous basis. And I thought, what a wonderful affirmation. But here's the thing. It was Bob's affirmation. It wasn't mine. So that's why I'd rather take what some of yours are and just wordsmith it. Because if we take somebody else's belief statement or affirmation because we go, oh, it sounds good, it's not yours. And it's got to grab you in your heart. So that when you're speaking it into existence, and might have a little bit of time tomorrow to talk more about that. It really is. Your word is your wand. Words are powerful. They're a combination of thoughts, words, feelings, action. And I'm a big proponent of get it out of your head. Because what happens is, I believe I can do this, sits in your head. And then the paradigm is like, I'm going to grab it and go, no. But when you speak it out loud, we are giving that order to the universe. Think about the order. And don't let doubt, worry, anxiety, and fear be your negative goal setting. So we're going to have fun tomorrow. I made it a little bit early. I like parties, but I also like to have time to reflect on the week. And we've done so much this week. You have done so much this week. I'm so excited. And I really do hope I get to talk to all of you. Because that's the one decision that I made when I first heard Bob, before he was Bob. And I just thought, he knows something that I don't. And ever since I was a kid growing up, one last story. I'm sorry. I'll give you 5 minutes left. There's a through line in your life with who you are and what you're doing and why you've gone through what you have to get to the big, bold, beautiful dream. I grew up in Northern Illinois, and there was a town psychic. I'm just going to say that. I was fascinated by her. Fascinated. Her name was Linda Faluca. She would sit in an office and write down on, she would take a piece of paper, fold it in half and write on it. And so for my, I think 21st birthday, I begged my mom to let me go. It would cost a whole $20 back then. And she scared me, but then I was curious because I was trying to figure out, what is she looking at? Because really, it's like if you were sitting across from me and I'm sitting here in my office and I'm writing down things and saying, the first thing she said is, she goes, who's Judy? And I go, well, she's a grade school friend I haven't seen in like 10 years. She goes, oh, you're going to see her soon. And 2 weeks later, she knocked on my door. So I was fascinated. And after a couple times, I think I would go to see her every year, I finally got up the nerve to talk to her. And she was the seed that planted all these years later of understanding, because she said, I'm just telling you what your energy, I didn't know this at the time, is telling me, but you can change it. So that's what I'm going to say to you. I get to do this because I know you can change anything. So come tomorrow. Let's play. Have an awesome Thursday night. And I can't wait. I can't wait.